Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Both of our cable TV channels in the Birmingham Bloomfield area and Greater West Bloomfield are on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T, Channel 99. That's also where you can find us in Southfield on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Joining us in Orion Township and Lake Orion is ONTV, or Orion Neighborhood Television, and then over in Waterford, the Media Network of Waterford on Channel 10 in the city of Waterford. And then we're joined as well on the radio by 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, serving Birmingham, Bloomfield, and the Troy area as well. And then we are online on civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link at the top of our homepage on a computer web browser, or in the left margin of your screen on our drop-down menu on your cell phone's web browsers as well. You can also find us online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. And then finally online on My Michigan TV or MyMy. Just go to mymytv.com where you can learn more information about Michigan's streaming network with content from creators here in the state of Michigan about the state of Michigan for Michiganders. That is on mymytv.com, where you can subscribe for free and learn more information about all the places that you can download the MyMyTV app on your smartphone and on your smart TV. Places like the iOS App Store, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and more. Again, that is mymytv.com, or just go to our website at civiccentertv.com and click on our Megacast link, where you can find information about all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets. Click on any one of those links that are there for any of our partnering stations, and it'll take you directly to their websites, where you can see all the other things and listen to all the other things that they do throughout the other 22 hours of the work week that they're not joining us on the Megacast. Over on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, you'll find even more important information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, and their individual COVID-19 web pages. There you'll find information about how COVID-19 is spreading in our communities, how the numbers have adjusted day to day, week to week, month to month. You can track the numbers going all the way back, as well as our current metrics. You can also learn more about the COVID-19 vaccines, as well as available booster shots, and determine whether or not you should get a booster shot, or if you haven't gotten a vaccine just yet, figure out what is the best vaccine for you, and all the places that you can get your vaccine as well to help us climb our way out of this pandemic. You can also find more information from many of our local municipalities in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast, and their individual COVID-19 web pages, so you can see how COVID-19 and how this pandemic is affecting your hometown directly. How is municipal business being affected by COVID-19? How are municipal meetings being affected by COVID-19? What's happening in West Bloomfield Township? It's going to be different in many cases, could be different than Bloomfield Hills or in Birmingham or in Pontiac. So go to those websites as well. Just click on those links on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, and they'll take you where you need to go. Also, we have links to great articles from excellent journalists all across the state of Michigan about stories affecting Michigan through the COVID-19 pandemic and more. Today, making news from USA Today, national news that also, of course, affects Michiganders here. Unvaccinated Americans will face tighter COVID testing requirements in a new U.S. travel system. The U.S. will roll out this new travel system in 2 weeks that will open borders up for millions of vaccinated international visitors. The system, launching November 8th, will end the U.S. travel ban that has been in place for dozens of countries since the beginning of the pandemic. It will also make re-entry more challenging for unvaccinated U.S. citizens and permanent residents, and establish stringent testing requirements for the rare unvaccinated foreign nationals allowed to visit. Quote, for anyone traveling to the United States who cannot demonstrate proof of vaccination, they will have to produce documentation of a negative test within 1 day of departure, and closed quote, instead of the current 3 days, according to the White House. Fully vaccinated Americans will have a 3-day window for COVID-19 testing with negative results, but if they are not able to show proof of vaccination, they too will be subject to the 1-day testing requirement. Quote, these are strict safety protocols that follow the science of public health to enhance the safety of Americans here at home and the safety of international air travel, said senior administration officials in a Monday briefing. With exceptions, only foreign nationals with vaccination approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization will be allowed to board planes to visit the United States. There are some exceptions, however. Senior administration officials stressed that exceptions to vaccine requirements for foreign visitors would be rare, but would be made for children under 18 and travelers from countries with less than 10% vaccination rate due to lack of vaccine availability. The White House said that currently affects about 50 countries, but the list is continually changing. Travelers with some medical conditions, including people who have severe anaphylactic reactions to the COVID vaccine, will also be exempt from the vaccination requirement. Children under 2 years of age will not need to be tested for COVID-19. Additionally, travelers who recently recovered from the coronavirus may bypass testing and, quote, instead travel with documentation of recovery from COVID-19, i.e. your positive COVID viral test result on a sample taken no more than 90 days before the flight's departure from a foreign country, and a letter from a licensed healthcare provider or a public health official stating that you were cleared to travel, and closed quote, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Who will be able to enter the United States. Starting November 8th, foreign travelers will be able to enter the U.S. by air if they can show proof of vaccination, full vaccination, as well as a negative result, a test result from a pre-departure coronavirus test taken within 3 days of boarding a plane into the country. Airlines will collect personal information from all U.S.-bound travelers for contact tracing. Airlines are required to keep the information on hand for at least 30 days so health officials can follow up with travelers who may have been exposed to COVID-19. Masking will also be required, but there will be no quarantine mandate. The change will make entering the U.S. possible for travelers from countries listed on the U.S. travel ban, which prohibits entry for travelers who have been in any of the regions within the past 14 days. Travel bans took effect in early 2020 and included China, India, Iran, Brazil, South Africa, the United Kingdom, the Republic of Ireland, and the European Schengen area, including Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Slovakia, Sweden, Monaco, San Marino, the Vatican City, and more. That entire list in this article on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. What about Canada and Mexico? The new travel rules will also affect foreign nationals arriving by land or passenger ferry from Mexico and Canada. Starting November 8th, fully vaccinated foreign nationals can cross the land borders for non-essential reasons such as tourism or visiting family and friends. Entry rules along the border will change again in early January, with all travelers, including those traveling for essential purposes, required to show proof of vaccination. These rules are for travelers. There are different requirements for immigrants, according to the CDC. Quote, people applying to enter the U.S. as immigrants, with exceptions, are required to have a medical examination that includes a COVID-19 vaccination requirement before they are issued an immigrant visa. That full article from the USA Today on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And as more vaccine mandates in some areas and others come into effect, especially those affecting our offices from the federal mandate from the Biden administration, thousands of Michigan firms are facing a December 8th COVID vaccine mandate deadline. This is from Bridge Michigan Magazine. About 3,200 Michigan workers at Steelcase Incorporated learned last week that they must prove by December 8th that they have been fully vaccinated for COVID-19. That's because the Grand Rapids furniture maker, which employs 4,800 total workers in the U.S., is a federal contractor for supplies that supplies government offices. The workers now face a choice: get vaccinated, seek an exemption, or risk either suspension or firing. Workers in thousands of Michigan businesses are expected to confront the same choice as the end deadline, as the national mandate for federal contractors will affect, quote-unquote, every county in Michigan, said Sue Teller, owner of Jetco Federal Supply in Grand Rapids and second vice chair of the Small Business Association of Michigan's Board of Directors. The mandate is one of several announced by President Joe Biden on September 8th that are rolling out this fall fall, affecting federal workers, companies that do business with the federal government, including universities that accept research funding, and the nation's largest employers. In Michigan, estimates say 42% of the state's labor force, some 2 million workers, will be under some form of a mandate by year end, including employees at private workplaces, the University of Michigan and Michigan State University, and at least 10 healthcare systems, including Beaumont, the state's largest. It's unclear how many workers in Michigan will be affected by federal contractor mandates, but thousands of state businesses are registered to bid on government contracts. The situation is, quote-unquote, creating significant uncertainty for businesses and subcontractors, said Craig Smith, a federal contract attorney and partner with the Washington, D.C.-based law firm Wiley Ryan. He continued on saying, all of a sudden, you get asked to add these obligations to your contract, Smith said. That may be quite a surprise for many companies, and closed quote. The mandate comes atop a national worker shortage, as it's called, and quote-unquote, clearly a variety of perspectives on vaccination, Smith said. For employers, Tellier said, quote, the ripple effect is massive, and closed quote. Rules for contractor mandate were announced in late September. The order said that the vaccine mandate only applied to covered contracts, as they're called, which are valued at under $250,000 and either were starting or being extended this fall. But shortly after, the Safer Federal Workforce Task Force, led by the White House's COVID-19 response team, issued guidance for how businesses should respond to the rules. Its advice contractors, even those not specifically mentioned in the order, should comply with it anyway. It also stated no test-out option allows employees to take regular COVID tests instead of getting vaccinated. The effective deadline for vaccines is November 24 because there must be a 2-week interval between final dose and the deadline, and employees affected include part-time and remote workers. Many business advocates in Michigan are watching the situation with concern, even if they support vaccinations. Business owners also worry the mandate will drive employees away at a time when hiring has been difficult. The state's labor force has declined by about 180,000 workers to 4.7 million total since the start of the pandemic, according to preliminary data from September. So far, some Michigan universities and health systems have enacted vaccine mandates, offering a glimpse of how a mandate will play out. They include Beaumont, where 370 of its 33,000 workers were suspended for not getting vaccinated or qualifying for an exemption, and another 70 quit. At the University of Michigan, officials say a few hundred staffers who are not vaccinated will be placed on unpaid leave for 30 days if they don't report the start of their vaccination process by November 8th. And so that full article with more analysis and more quotes from other business owners across the state of Michigan from Bridge, Michigan Magazine on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And finally, making headlines today in Oakland County in our schools. COVID-19 outbreaks are reported in 10 different schools in Oakland County with 47 total cases confirmed. In Oakland County. Statewide, new cases dropped by more than half from 947 to 428, while school outbreaks dropped from 70 to 76 from 101 the previous week, according to the MDHHS, which reports school outbreaks each Monday. The 10 Oakland County schools with new outbreaks, all among students, are St. William's Catholic in Walled Lake Central High School, Wixom's Loon Lake Elementary, Wixom Elementary, Southfield's McIntyre Elementary, Norup International Academy in Oak Park, Bradford Academy in Southfield, Beverly Elementary in Beverly Hills, Lawrence Tech University's football team with 12 cases amongst their team, and Weber Elementary School in Lake Orion. 9 Oakland County schools continue with ongoing outbreaks. They include Keller Elementary in Royal Oak, Holy Family Regional School in Rochester Hills, Lake Orion High School, Berkshire Middle School in Beverly Hills, Troy Union Elementary, Country Oaks Elementary in Commerce, Troy's Waddles Elementary, Berkeley's Angel Elementary, and West Bloomfield's Keith Elementary with 3 cases. Keith Elementary, of course, in the Walled Lake School District. Ongoing outbreaks are those that had already been identified in previous weeks, but have had at least one new associated report to the local health department in the last 28 days. In recent weeks, the MDHHS adopted new standards for determining outbreaks and cases in K-12 schools. With the new outbreak definition, the local health department must find multiple cases comprising at least 10% of students, teachers, or staff within a specified group, or at least 3 associated COVID-19 cases with symptoms onset or positive test results within 14 days of each other, who are not identified as close contacts of each other in another setting outside of a school setting, and epidemiologically linked in the school setting or school-sanctioned extracurricular activities that are considered outbreaks. A school-associated COVID-19 case, confirmed or probable, is defined as a student, teacher, or staff member physically present in the school setting or participating in a school-sanctioned extracurricular activity within 14 days prior to illness onset or positive test result, or within 10 days after illness onset or a positive test result. All of those articles on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We have a packed show for you today. Coming up next, I'll be speaking with government and politics reporter at the Detroit Free Press, Dave Boucher. Then coming up at 10:40, Jaimi Brook, the operations and events manager at the Birmingham Shopping District, will join me on the program to cap off the 10 o'clock hour. And then in the 11 o'clock hour, Chris Barnett, the Orion Township supervisor, Ed Terabas, co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction, and Cynthia Jones, the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, will join me. That's all coming up. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon live on the Megacast. If you missed any of our episodes or you want to learn more about all the television, radio, and web outlets that join us each and every day on our live shows and live to tape for replays throughout the afternoons and evenings, go to our website at civiccentertv.com and click on Megacast. There you'll also find all of our full episodes and our individual interviews on demand, so you can watch them on your time. We're joined now by Dave Boucher. He's the government and politics reporter over at the Detroit Free Press, with a lot going on at the state and federal level right now. We're pleased to be joined by him. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. So over the weekend, the U.S. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, was in Metro Detroit, and on Saturday she was quoted when speaking about the Build Back Better plan, saying that it's mostly complete. It's about 90% of the bill is written. Some harsh decisions, quote unquote, need to be made, but that a deal could be struck as early as, well, she said as early as Monday, but realistically at this point, because we're past Monday, sometime this week. Where is that plan in the process? Is there a chance that that bill could be passed at the federal level this week?
Yeah, that's right. She told us at this event that she thought that they were 90% of the way there, and that they had the concepts in place, but there's a difference between understanding concepts and actually having a piece of legislation that is ready to present and vote on. So she essentially said the same thing on national TV on Sunday. It sounds like at this point the timeline is closer to something happening this week. And keep in mind, there are two separate pieces of very large, very complicated legislation that are kind of intertwined in this. There's this so-called Build Back Better plan, which is essentially investing trillions of dollars over a decade into all sorts of social programs, be it pre-K, potentially community college, childcare, all sorts of other things. Then there's a separate more than $1 trillion over 10-year infrastructure bill that would invest lots of money into water infrastructure, into roads, highways, that sort of thing. So all of that is connected. The fates are connected, frankly, because of disputes in the Democratic caucus and trying to get more versus how much they can actually pass in the Senate. But it does look like, according to the Speaker, that there could be votes on both of those bills in the House this week.
And Dave, at this point in time, has there been any indication where those compromises have been made on this bill, particularly in the Democratic caucus, which has the majority in both houses at the federal level, but there seems to have been that divide, particularly among some of the more quote-unquote moderate Democrats, most notably so Joe Manchin from West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona. Where have some of those compromises maybe been made that have made this be at a point where Speaker Pelosi can say it's really close to being at a point where it could pass?
Yeah, it's honestly hard to know, right? These negotiations are happening behind closed doors, and one day you read that, for example, there was a proposal to have expanded free community college, and that might be off the table. There are questions about childcare incentives that might be off the table. There are questions about how aggressive the so-called Build Back Better plan will be in terms of climate change. Again, it's really hard to speculate until we actually see the legislation. A lot of the discussion has been around the price tag, which can be super confusing. There's talk that Senator Manchin doesn't want a bill that would cost $3.5 trillion. Again, that's money over 10 years, but it's unclear specifically, where he or others might want to cut. As you noted, some of the debate has gone on within the House Democratic caucus, and that's between so-called progressive Democrats like Rashida Tlaib or Andy Levin here in Michigan, who want everything that President Biden promised, be it free college or any of those other measures we talked about, that would cost more and potentially would be dead on arrival in the Senate. And so House moderate Democrats, so-called moderates, are trying to find a plan that would actually pass in the Senate, that would actually gain support. Again, it's hard to speculate on what that might entail until we actually see it. We anticipate we might see something this week.
We're joined by Dave Boucher, government and politics reporter over at the Detroit Free Press, joining us today on the Megacast. And also this week in Michigan, Governor Whitmer recently named a new director of the Unemployment Insurance Agency. That will be Julia Dale, who will take over the agency from the interim director. And as we continue through the pandemic, and even as the the increase of unemployment claims has waned significantly in the past several months due to extended benefits being withdrawn at the state level, and of course people returning to the workforce as well. There still is continuing issues there. She's coming in with a really tough task ahead of her. What indication do you have, or does your team over at the Free Press have at this time for the new director, Dale, and what her priorities are? Because there's so much to fix there at the UIA, and there's obviously a lot of pressure and oversight on that agency right now because of the issues that have been seen over the pandemic and the known issues from before the pandemic.
Sure. So I'll say that we found out this information the same time as everybody else did, and I think it's a little bit unclear exactly what specifically Ms. Dale will want to do first versus, short-term, midterm, long-term goals. As you've noted, Republicans, Democrats, the governor, everybody has kind of indicated that the unemployment insurance agency and just unemployment in general isn't working. It's a system that is convoluted, complicated, sends out too much money to some people, not enough money to other people, or is very late in sending out money. There was a lot of consternation earlier in the pandemic when the governor essentially asked the then head of the agency to step down, and it was confirmed that he received a roughly $86,000 separation agreement, so paid to essentially to go away. So there's been a lot of consternation. Republicans have called on the who had been the acting director of the agency to step down, Liza Eastland Olsen, to step down. They had argued that, again, that she had not done anything to kind of alleviate this bureaucratic quagmire. And so I think that there is a push, obviously, by the state to move on, to try and find ways to again, make this easier for people who really do need these benefits. I will note, you brought this up, there were extended unemployment benefits that were made available through federal funds. They're no longer available as of the start of September, but Michigan's unemployment rate declined only slightly in September, dropping to 4.6% in the month. That's compared to 4.7% in August. So there's an argument that those enhanced federal jobless benefits didn't actually relate or cause this massive surge of people who had allegedly been waiting on the sidelines to come back into the labor force, if not for that funding. So again, that could be a process that takes a little bit of time, but we've all heard about employers who are begging for people to come in and work. And we've heard that there's this idea or this concept, chiefly, driven by Republicans, who have said that people aren't working because they have this financial disincentive not to. And that just hasn't borne out yet in the data that we've seen.
We're joined by Dave Boucher. He's a government and politics reporter at the Detroit Free Press, joining us today on the Megacast. And Dave, another issue at the state level is the situation with the water over in Benton Harbor. The Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy's Director Clark has kind of been, and as your article's headline says, kind of been waffling on identifying the safety or unsafety of the water there in Benton Harbor. This was an issue, a crisis that was first identified in 2018, but really until recently hasn't been getting a whole lot of focus, at least not in the news and in our political centers. What took so long for this issue to finally come to the forefront and ultimately made this such hard-hitting news and important news here in the Michigan news cycle?
Yeah, that's the $20 million question, right? That's essentially how much money the state and local officials believe they'll need to replace all of the lead water pipes in the city of Benton Harbor. The state would argue, and I would think that the EPA and others might too, that there was a reaction, arguably in real time. However, the efficacy of that reaction and just the related effort by the state is what's in question here. There was testing by the state that was done on the water. There were efforts to add what's called an anti-corrosion agent, a chemical that's put into the water that's supposed to stop the pipes from corroding, and that's what kind of makes that lead come into the water. And it just didn't work. And the state tweaked the formula and waited months and months and months, and it didn't work again. So there are a lot of questions about what's going on in Benton Harbor as in terms of that water. Again, no amount of lead in water is safe. And yet the head of Eagle, the department you mentioned, didn't directly say, at least initially, that the water was unsafe to drink. She did eventually, and she noted that the state is handing out water bottles, but they didn't start doing that essentially until October or late September. Activists believe that they were spurred on to do this because of a petition filed with the EPA that essentially called on the EPA to intervene, alleging that the state hadn't done enough to act. So the state has pledged a ton of action since then, but there are questions that remain about whether or not the department or the legislature or the governor could have done more in the meantime.
On a human front, obviously this is a a significant issue for the people of Benton Harbor. You think about the parallels between this issue and of course the Flint water crisis that marred the previous administration. This being that it was first identified in 2018, that's within that window of Governor Whitmer's administration, and so that brings us to kind of transitions into election season, as we've seen recently reports on campaign finance for Governor Whitmer, as well as for competing candidates like James Craig, and these numbers are staggering, especially Governor Whitmer's numbers, as she has more than doubled or tripled in some cases the campaign funding so far as that of her opponents. Being that some of these opponents like James Craig are already bringing in some of these significant funds, is money in politics in the state of Michigan going to become a bigger issue during this gubernatorial race because of the staggering funds we're seeing come into these campaigns already at this early stage of the race?
I'm not sure that money in politics could be a bigger issue than it is already. It's a massive issue. Depending on who you talk to, it's a massive problem. And as you know, the governor's brought in millions of dollars. I think she reported more than $3 million. The Craig campaign reported more than roughly $1.4 million. Whomever the Republican candidate is for governor will not be lacking for funds, right? Like obviously Governor Whitmer, who's an incumbent, has a pretty baked in advantage here and has been raising funds for a while. She's very popular with the Democratic base. But whomever runs for as the Republican, whoever earns the nomination, will have a ton of funding as well. This is a national race. There's national implications. Republicans think that this seat is ripe for picking. So yeah, Michiganders should be ready to be inundated with TV, radio, and digital ads. If they aren't already, it's going to be starting soon.
We're joined by Dave Boucher. He's a government and politics reporter at the Detroit Free Press, with us on the Megacast. And as we go into election season, as we continue in this early stage of the election season, nationally and at the state level, voting rights has been arguably the biggest issue in this current cycle, really since the end of the 2020 presidential election, with all the unnecessary and just overall ridiculous continued contesting of that result that's been confirmed time and time again. On one side, we're seeing some new laws being proposed particularly by the GOP for tighter restrictions at the polls, for greater voter identity laws being put in place, more restrictions or more requirements for people to be able to prove who they are when they go to the polls. And on the Democratic side, more of a fight to prevent those laws from going through and expand the access to the polls for those that are eligible. Governor Whitmer recently vetoed a bill that would change the responsibility of clearing dead voters from the qualified voter file from a city and from municipal clerks to county clerks. That doesn't seem like that major just of an issue on this front from the outside looking in, for people that maybe aren't so familiar with the process of this. But why was this such a pervasive proposal to Governor Whitmer to the point where she vetoed this bill?
Yeah, so I would argue that the governor's rationale was a little bit vague on that front, and argue to put an undue burden on clerks. So what you're talking about is right now there are local, like municipality and city clerks, and there are county clerks. And although the city clerks, municipal clerks run elections, the county clerks are the entities that have the information about voting rolls and about who's dead. And so like right now, there's like the left hand has to talk to the right hand in order to make sure that people who have died are removed from the voting rolls. So there was testimony from Barb Byram and other Democratic clerks who said actually giving more power to county clerks to kind of clean up these rolls would be a good thing. So I talked with her after the veto, and she indicated that she didn't know exactly why the governor did it, but she trusted the governor's rationale. I think it's fair to say that right now the governor appears to be aiming to veto all of the voting-related legislation presented by Republicans, some of which, as you and many others have noted, would, according to activists and many others, restrict the capacity to vote or put undue harm or burden on people to vote. You mentioned voter identification. It's worth noting that Michigan already has a voter identification law. You are required to bring a photo ID to the polls if you want to vote. However, under current law, if you don't have that ID, you're able to sign an affidavit. right? So Republicans argue that that system allows people to come in without an ID and sign this affidavit and potentially commit fraud. There's really no evidence that that's an issue in the state. We noted, the Free Press noted, after the previous election, that more than 99% of voters in the November 3rd election presented an ID at their polling place. So there were only a roughly 11,500 affidavits filed. More than 5 million people voted. So people are already showing IDs. The Republicans have argued that this is necessary to, even one allegation of fraud is too many. That's their argument, and that this is necessary to close down this potential loophole. Democrats and many others argue that this would prevent people who are elderly, can't provide birth certificates, who forget their IDs, or other people who they would argue are typically disenfranchised or may actually vote Democratic more often from voting in person.
We're joined by Dave Boucher, government and politics reporter at the Detroit Free Press. Dave, just another minute or so with you today before we'll say goodbye. What are some other key issues right now, or issues that are growing at the state level that people should be keeping an eye out for, or will be hearing more about in the coming weeks and months?
There's a story coming out today. The Detroit News reported it last night, and I reported it a little bit further this morning. The Ingham County Prosecutor's Office is not going to charge Representative Steve Marino with stalking in relation to text messages that Representative Mari Manoogian, a Birmingham Democrat, said that she received from him. The pair had a relationship. They broke up. Representative Manoogian accused him of domestic abuse and sending threatening text messages where he said that he wanted her car to explode. The prosecutor, I spoke to the prosecutor this morning. She told me that they received presentation of the case for stalking from the Michigan State Police, who had been investigating, but that her office couldn't prove those charges beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's unclear exactly how that affects Representative Marino's standing in the House. He'd been removed from all of his House committees. He's allowed on the House floor, but not been voting. So we're going to try and see what happens today and in the immediate future.
Well, Dave, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, telling us more about some more details about a lot of these key issues and giving us some more insight on what's coming on the docket pretty soon and things we should be keeping an eye out for. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Our appreciation. You can join us at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus for many articles from many of our local journalists, including our friends over at the Detroit Free Press. If you'd like to read some of Dave's articles and, of course, subscribe to the Free Press, you can do that by going to freep.com. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, I'll be joined by Jaimi Brook, Operations and Events Manager at Birmingham Shopping District. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside studio producer and board operator Calvin Brown with us in our studios in West Bloomfield Township. But we're also broadcasting all throughout the Oakland County area and across the state of Michigan. Find out all those places that we're broadcasting throughout the state by going to our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on Megacast, where you'll learn more about where we're broadcasting in your hometown, places like Birmingham, where we're pleased to be joined now by Jaimi Brook, the Operations and Events Manager for the Birmingham Shopping District, to talk about the Birmingham Farmers Market. It's still ongoing, but this is the last week, and Jaimi is with us now on the Megacast to talk about what's coming up in this final week of the Farmers Market for the season. Jaimi, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So tell us a little bit about, for those not familiar, tell us about the farmers market, how it began, and what people can experience still in this last week of the season for the market.
Sure. Our farmers market started almost 19 years ago, actually maybe a little over 19 years ago, with a couple of very dedicated and enthusiastic volunteers approaching the Birmingham Shopping District with what they saw as a need for the local community to be able to purchase Michigan grown and produced agriculture and products and have somewhere to gather with their friends and neighbors on Sunday mornings. So the market has been running in Birmingham's Lot 6, which is a parking lot on North Old Woodward. 660 North Old Woodward is the address if anybody wants to put that into their mapping system. And we run the first Sunday in May until the last Sunday in October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We usually have 40 to 50 different vendors at the market. A lot of them are there every Sunday with us, and some rotate through, but we have everything from, of course, the handful of farmers who have lots of different crops and seasonal items. So at the beginning of the season, we have more of the plants and flowers, and now we're full produce with fall products with apples and squash and pumpkins, as well as some of the tomatoes and cucumbers and traditional garden vegetables that are still hanging on. I think we're past some of the watermelon and other melons, but certainly still have corn. And then we have some pantry items. We have jam and cookies and pastries and things that you might want to stock up on with the pasta sauce and olive oil, local honey, and even knife sharpener at our market, and somebody who makes great wood cutting boards. So a great variety for people who want to come out. And we always have live music at the market, as well as some fun activities for kids and food trucks. So it's a nice Sunday morning for you to come out, bring your dog, go for a walk, and visit us. Again, it was 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Sunday, May through October.
We're joined by Birmingham Shopping District Operations and Events Manager Jaimi Brook with us on the Megacast. So Jaimi, as I mentioned earlier before the first question, this is the last week of the farmers market for the season. This coming Sunday on Halloween, you have your end of season celebration for the farmers market. Tell us what people can expect when they come out to this event, and anything special you have planned for this end of season celebration, given that it falls on Halloween.
It is actually exciting for us that it falls on Halloween. That doesn't happen very often. So we have invited kids to come, actually not just kids, anyone to come join us in costume this Sunday. Our vendors will be bringing candy and treats so people can trick or treat as they're walking through the market. We will have special live entertainment. We'll have straw bales piled up so kids can climb on the hay and straw and have some fun doing that. We also have pumpkins for the kids to decorate. So we'll be handing those out to kids with opportunity for them to put jack-o'-lantern type faces, stickers on the pumpkins while they're at the market. And of course, there's the shopping opportunity. And this is, like you said, the last Sunday. So it's a great time to stock up on those items that will fill your pantry and help you get through the off season for our market. And we'll have some food trucks if you want to make a morning brunch out of it, or some lunch opportunities. So it'll be fun for everyone.
And then, Jaimi, just after a short hiatus after the farmers market is done in December 3rd, actually, the Birmingham Winter Market begins. Tell us a little bit about the Winter Market and how is it similar, but also how is it different from the farmers market?
Sure. Our Birmingham Winter Market is an annual event that takes place in the center of downtown Birmingham. So instead of being on North Old Woodward, we're going to be in Shain Park. And this one is a 3-day event, similar to the farmers market. And then we have a wide variety of different types of vendors, but a little different. And this one's a little more focused on the holidays and holiday decorating items, as well as holiday gifts, lots of food items. And in addition to the vendors at the Winter Market, we have lots of great activities. The Winter Market goes December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The kickoff of the Winter March is on Friday, December 3rd. We start at 4 p.m., but at 6 p.m. we're doing the city's holiday tree lighting. And that's a 35-foot tree that has over 40,000 LED lights. It's going to be, Santa will be helping us to light that tree. So we invite everybody out to join us that evening. And we'll have live entertainment, lots of different school groups and bands will be playing throughout the 3 days. We have a kinder house, we have kids activities, different crafts and activities for the kids. On Sunday, we'll have live reindeer at the market. And throughout the whole event, we will have carriage rides, and Santa will be allowing visitors to come say hi at our Santa house. So lots of great things to do at the Winter March. I don't think I mentioned food trucks, but definitely food opportunities there as well.
We're joined by Jaimi Brook, Operations and Events Manager at the Birmingham Shopping District, joining us today on the Megacast. Of course, this is the final week for the Birmingham Farmers Market, their end of season celebration on Halloween from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Their hours are Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That includes this weekend. More information on the Birmingham government website at bhamgov.org, bhamgov.org. And so we're still in the thick of things with the COVID-19 pandemic. That being said, what precautionary measures or requirements are in place for the farmers market and will be in place for the winter market?
We're fortunate that our events are all outdoors, so that allows us a little more flexibility with what we're able to do. This year, we're able to bring back a lot of the elements to our events that we weren't able to do last year, but we still ask people to distance and respect everyone's space, wear masks when they're in closer quarters. And Santa, for example, will still be doing visits in his doorway with kids distanced from him like we did last year. So instead of having kids come inside Santa house, where it's a little closer quarters, we'll still have an opportunity to visit with Santa, get your Christmas wishes heard, but do it in the safest way we see possible.
We're joined by Jaimi Brook, Operations and Events Manager at the Birmingham Shopping District, joining us on the Megacast. And in between, of course, the farmers market, and in addition to the farmers market and the winter market, Jaimi, what other things are happening in the Birmingham Shopping District? Any other events or any other special promotions that people should be on the lookout for going forward?
Sure. We start our holiday season with Small Business Saturday, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is Saturday, November 27th. And we encourage people to shop local. We don't want to say shop small, meaning small purchases, but shop with small businesses and our local businesses, as opposed to some of the big box stores. This year is especially important to support our community members and the local businesses who've had a bit of a tough time through the COVID situation. So on Saturday, November 27th, we kick things off with what we call Santa Walk. Santa will be arriving to town at 9:30 Saturday morning, and we are inviting kids and families to come greet Santa and then walk around the block with him. We'll be stopping at some of our local retailers as we make our way around the block. And the families who join Santa for Santa Walk will be the first families who get to have their Santa visits in Santa House. Then Santa House will be open for that weekend and every weekend from that Thanksgiving weekend through Christmas Eve. And we'll have our horse-drawn carriage rides starting on Small Business Saturday. Small Business Saturday also has free parking all day in the structures. And we'll have hot chocolate being given away by Hazel Ravines in downtown on the corner of Maple and Old Woodward. So right in the heart of downtown. We also start our scavenger hunt, which is another fun holiday family activity. If you still not comfortable being in crowds, this is one that you can do on your mobile device and still get a tour around town, have some fun prizes as you do that, and have the opportunity to win a $250 Birmingham Bucks gift card for one winner each day of the scavenger hunt. So each Saturday and each Sunday through that holiday season, we'll be giving out a $250 Birmingham Bucks gift card.
We're joined by Jaimi Brook. She is the Operations and Events Manager for the Birmingham Shopping District. Learn more on bhamgov.org, bhamgov.org. And so we mentioned some of the COVID precautions that are in place at the farmers market and will be in place at the winter market. Across the shopping district, how has the COVID-19 situation altered those operations? What precautions generally are in place, or does it vary from business to business?
It certainly does vary business to business, but we saw great support for our restaurants, lots of people dining outside. With the weather changing a bit, we're seeing more people moving inside, but outdoor dining was a big part of what people did to support businesses, and a lot of takeout, which people may not have thought to take out from some of our downtown restaurants in the past, but that happened a lot more. And it was really nice to hear from some of the local merchants that they did see people shopping locally, even though some of those times the shopping trip might have been more of the call or the personal shopper with the Zoom shopping and people doing curbside. We're fortunate that more has come back a little more to normal. A lot of our merchants are still offering those additional services with the curbside pickup and the help with the personal shopping. So we encourage people to check out the different retailers and to visit each one and see what they have going on.
We're joined by Jaimi Brook. She is the Operations and Events Manager at the Birmingham Shopping District, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information, of course, about the winter market coming up beginning December 3rd, as well as with hours on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in Shain Park, as well as the Birmingham Farmers Market, which is in its final week. Its final weekend will be this Sunday, October 31st, their end of season celebration from 9 to 2 p.m. At the Farmers Market. And that is, again, you can learn more information on their website, bhamgov.org, the Birmingham City website, to learn more about this event. And Jaimi, before we let you go, just another couple minutes, anything else people should be on the lookout for in the coming weeks and months in the Birmingham Shopping District? Anything other interesting things that are going on, upcoming projects or new businesses that may be coming in soon?
The nice thing is there are always new businesses, so we encourage you to come down and take a walk through the downtown area. Not only will you find new businesses and cafes, but the holiday lights are already going up, and the city is really beautiful during the holidays with beautiful twinkling lights throughout the city. As I mentioned, our horse-drawn carriage rides are a great opportunity to get a little tour of those lights. We're excited to have some businesses that just opened even during the COVID pandemic time. So Johnny has just celebrated their 1-year anniversary. The Daxton Hotel hasn't even been open for a year. So it was great that even during tough times, we had businesses opening, and we're thrilled to have them in town as well.
Well, Jaimi, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us and telling us more about what people can expect coming up in the shopping district, but also about the final weekend of the Birmingham Farmers Market this weekend from 9 to 2 p.m. on Sunday, and then the upcoming winter market beginning December 3rd.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You can learn more information on their website, at the Birmingham City website, bhamgov.org. And hey, if you need an easier way to get there, you might as well stop at Birmingham's coronavirus page and learn more about how they're taking precautions against COVID-19 across the city by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus and clicking on the Birmingham link. That'll take you right to their website, and then from there you can navigate to learn more about the Birmingham Shopping District, everything going on there. Figure out what you need to do to get down to the farmers market on Halloween from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for their end of season celebration, and then get yourself ready on December 3rd to join them for their winter market and in late November for Small Business Saturday. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll kick off the second hour of the show with Orion Township Supervisor Chris Barnett after some major rainstorms over the past few weeks and significant damage from flooding for residents in Orion Township. He has declared a state of emergency in the township and is seeking state and federal help. He'll tell us more about some of those options available at 11:20. We'll get back into the Halloween season and talk with Ed Terabas, co-owner of the Erebus Haunted Attraction. And then at 11:40, we'll go back in history with Cynthia Jones, the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation. That is all coming up next on your radio homes for the Megacast. 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, and 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills. The Megacast returns after this.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
We're pleased to be joined now by the Supervisor of Orion Township, Chris Barnett, joining us now on the Megacast. Supervisor, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. So again, recently, about 10 days ago, a little bit over 10 days ago, Orion Township was hit by those rainstorms that came in, not last week Friday, but the week before, and was hit with heavy amounts of rain, estimated about 6 to 8 inches of rain, causing flooding throughout the township, and your office to then declare a state of emergency in Orion Township. We are now several days past the onset of that incident. But how are things coming along in Orion Township in terms of dealing with the flooding and mitigating the ultimate results of that incident?
Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. And I've been in this role for 9 years, since 2012, and never really dealt with anything like this. The first time I've declared a state of emergency, so that was new for me as well. And it was just a very strange event. It was a Friday afternoon, October 8th, and it was raining hard here where I sit on Johnson Road at Township Hall. And I started getting emails and phone calls, and pictures were coming through my phone and my computer here of just like, it looked like a different world. And literally, I got in my car and drove a half-mile east of where I'm sitting toward Lapeer Road, which is our main thoroughfare, and it was really like a different world. I mean, we had neighborhoods that had literally 6 feet of water in parts of them. And I, after, looking at it after the fact, I mean, I kind of joke, it's not very funny, obviously, but first of all, the good news is we had 0 injuries reported as a result of the flooding. So that's the great news, but unfortunately, a lot of property damage. But what it's almost like we had the Eeyore cloud. We had this little rain cell that just kind of hung out for a couple hours over this roughly 10 square mile area, mostly Orion Township, the little north piece of Auburn Hills, and as you mentioned, dropped 6 to 8 inches of rain. And there's no storm system in the world that's capable of handling that much volume of rain in that amount of time. So, current standards are, designing neighborhoods and commercial developments for like back-to-back 100-year rain events. I'm not an engineer, but I've learned a lot about this over the last few years, and especially last week. And so, a back-to-back, it's supposed to mean a rain event like that's supposed to happen once every 100 years. Well, the rain event that we had, if we got 5.5 inches in 2 hours, that's a 1,000-year interval event. You're supposed to get one of those every 1,000 years. And if we got more than 5.5 inches, if we indeed get 6 or 8 inches, engineers have no probability for that. So it's like almost like a biblical type event. And that's what we had. And so we had neighborhoods that never have had standing water, that have never had issues, again, having 4 and 6 feet of water. The system was just absolutely overwhelmed.
We're joined by Chris Barnett. He is the Township Supervisor of Orion Township. Joining us on the Megacast again, he issued a state of emergency in Orion Township following the recent rainstorms that had resulted in about 6 to 8 inches of rain in about an hour's time that caused a massive amount of flooding in Orion Township. And so, Supervisor, when you declare a state of emergency, just for reference, because we hear this term all the time for a number of different reasons. Certainly, we heard it a lot during the COVID-19 pandemic and continue to hear it. But in these cases, when a township, when a city, when any municipality declares a state of emergency, how does that ultimately benefit the residents, especially those who are affected by these situations?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, we were like most communities in Michigan, at least, did declare a state of emergency during the pandemic. And it opened up resources for us, and it also opened up the availability for us to meet remote, things like that. But in this case specifically, we're waving a white, a good example is like we're waving a white flag saying we need help, we give up, we don't have the resources to handle this on our own. And so when we declare a state of emergency, when I did that on Monday last week, it was to call in the resources of the state, Oakland County and the state, and ultimately potentially the federal government. And so initially the state and the county's been phenomenal working with us. There's been a couple state of emergencies recently in the county. A month or so ago, there was a tornado in White Lake. I'm friends with the White Lake supervisor, so I conferred with him a little bit on what we were doing here. But we have a ton of property damage. We had our building department team along with Oakland County officials going door to door in these neighborhoods that were hardest hit, trying to do a damage assessment. And the most unfortunate thing about all of this is the good news is that no one was hurt. The terrible news is that we have millions of dollars in property damage, and the majority of that our residents are finding out is not covered by their insurance. So we have vehicles that are inoperable. We have many homes that are either completely devastated or have hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage, and insurance companies don't cover because most of our residents don't have that flood insurance. Most people listening or watching the Megacast don't have that flood insurance rider on your coverage, because if it's not something you're required to do, most of us don't do that. I just checked mine, I don't have it. And so these residents have these major mitigations happening where they're trying to get the water out of their homes and all the drywall's been removed. And then they get the phone call from their adjuster saying, unfortunately, this is an uncovered event. So the state of emergency, the state of Michigan has already sort of agreed that, we're in a situation where we need assistance, and they can help us fix the public drains and things that were damaged. We have many sinkholes that happen, and a sinkhole means that something failed in the stormwater system. But the state dollars aren't available to individual private residences. So in order to get help to our residents, we need the federal government to agree and also declare a state of emergency, FEMA, and then ultimately President Biden would have to sign a declaration that would open up resources for residents. Until then, our residents are really on their own trying to fix their properties that were damaged. And for some of these homeowners, it's a financially crippling event.
We're joined by Chris Barnett. He is the Orion Township Supervisor with us on the Megacast. Orion Township, of course, declaring a state of emergency as a result of a recent 100-year rainstorm that occurred just about 2 weeks ago, where about 6 to 8 inches had fallen in the township proper in about 1 hour, causing a significant amount of flooding. A state of emergency, as I said, has been declared. The state of Michigan and Oakland County already have been partially addressed that with the Orion Township Supervisor and the township offices. They're awaiting federal assistance as well. So at this time, Supervisor, just for reference for people outside of the township or for people that are watching outside of the state that maybe don't understand what's going on in Orion Township and what these residents are facing, what are some of those additional assistances that are still needed at this time that haven't already been provided by the state or by the county for residents?
Yeah, so we, first we opened up an email address, flooding@oriontownship.org, flooding@oriontownship.org, for residents that specifically live within the township, for them to send us their address and pictures so we can get them in the system. We don't want more damage, but we know we want to be able to assess all the damage that has happened. The more that we know about that exists, the more likelihood of the chances of us getting federal assistance for our residents. And again, that's the only way we can give them financial support. But right now, I mean, the biggest concerns are, houses that are, there have been structural damage to some houses, but it's a lot of it is, just houses filled with water. We want to make sure that the water is mitigated properly so that we don't have mold issues and things like that in these homes. We have roads that have been washed out. We have sinkholes that need to be repaired. We still have one of our lakes that has no outlet, that is still partially flooding over one of our main thoroughfares. So it's a lot of safety concerns right now is the main issue. And we want to make sure that people are not afraid to ask for help. We're being very upfront with our residents, saying we can't give you financial assistance, but we're working really hard in my office to do everything in my power and our team's power to ultimately, hopefully, be able to get some financial assistance to our residents that need it most.
We're joined by Chris Barnett. He is the Township Supervisor of Orion Township with us on the Megacast. And Supervisor, in some more positive news, recently Governor Whitmer visited the township and joined American Battery Solutions, which is a manufacturer that held their ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new lithium-ion battery factory, a manufacturing facility that will be in Lake Orion. It will, of course, provide some potential employment opportunities as well for those in Orion Township. It's expected about more than 100 jobs will be brought to the local area from that plant. How exciting is it to have American Battery Solutions come into the local area, especially given that they are working on systems that are going to be critical to the future of our manufacturing, including our vehicles here in Metro Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool story. The company started just a couple years ago with 12 people. I kind of call them the Ocean's 12 of the battery world. It's kind of a group of experts that have all kind of worked together and competed against each other over the years. They kind of all came together to start this company. And as of yesterday, they have 155 employees here and growing very quickly. I mean, lithium-ion batteries, they're building batteries to replace the old lead-acid batteries in vehicles, and ultimately everything from golf carts all the way up to buses. And we know that's the future of vehicle travel in America, at least. And right here in our own community, we have the General Motors plant, Orion plant, that's building all electric vehicles as we speak. Autonomous vehicles are rolling off the line. So we're excited about their investment, and obviously we're excited when the governor comes to visit and, shine the light a little bit on our community. And then it was really neat after she came and helped cut the ribbon at ABS. She joined. I've been the president of the Oakland County Township Supervisors Association for about the last 5 years. And we have lunch once a month, the 21 township supervisors that make up all the townships in the county. And she accepted my invitation to join us for lunch. So we hosted a lunch with the governor as well, where, the rest of the elected township supervisors and myself were able to have a really cool offline, no media conversation with the governor, talk to her about what's, some of the issues in our community and what support we need from the state and what we can do to help in Lansing as well. So it was an exciting day yesterday, kind of bittersweet because we're kind of coming out of the and still hearing about heartbreak from many residents from the flood event of the 8th. But it's nice when the governor comes to visit. I'll tell you that no matter what political party you have to respect and appreciate when the governor comes to town.
And for reference, American Battery Solutions currently has 115 employees in the state of Michigan. They're expecting to double their workforce as a result of the new facility in Lake Orion by 2023. We're joined by Township Supervisor Chris Barnett from Orion Township with us on the Megacast. And again, for reference, if you have experienced damage due to the flooding incidents in Orion Township, need some help under their state of emergency declaration. Residents who have experienced these damages are encouraged to email details and provide any pictures and videos that they can to the township's special email for these incidents, flooding@oriontownship.org. Again, that is flooding@oriontownship.org. Supervisor, just another few minutes with you today before we'll say goodbye. Anything else at this moment in time that would be important for residents of Orion Township to know, or anything interesting for those that may be visiting Orion Township very soon that they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, before the flooding event, we were on a roll, and we really still are. I mean, if you're not familiar with where we're at, we're in northern Oakland County, and our motto is "We're living as a vacation." The good news is we have 42 lakes in our 36 square miles. Sometimes when we get a lot of rain, that's also the bad news. We have a lot of water. So there's a lot of great family-friendly events happening, and we have an amazing school district, and it's a great place. It's a great place to call home outside of the random events that we have going on, and we really are. I mean, our largest employer in the township is General Motors and the Orion plant, and we're excited to see those ancillary businesses like ABS, playing their roots here right in our community. We put a big focus on economic development and making sure that our residents have places to work, but also have places to spend their money. So we're grateful to be here today, and appreciate you helping us get the word out to our residents that are affected by this. And I know I haven't been individually sharing GoFundMe pages because it's just too much to do, but I know there's a handful of those that have already sprung up for people that have learned they have no insurance for the flooding events. So if you're empathetic or you're interested in helping some of our residents, we'd be extremely grateful as well. I know you guys have quite a following. So as always, it's always great to be on and chat with you, and hopefully usually talk about good news. Unfortunately today it's a little bit of both, but appreciate what you guys do, and thanks for having me on.
And thanks for coming on and telling us more about this, so that those that may not be familiar with some of the actions that they can take in Orion Township, if they have been victims of this flooding, that they can take action and maybe get some of the help that they need. We appreciate it, Supervisor.
Thank you. Have an awesome afternoon.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. Being 27 and a mom and a wife, and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
if you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Halloween is just a little bit over a week away, and everybody that is out there looking for a spooky experience before they celebrate the occasion, or as they celebrate the occasion, they're going to be looking for haunted houses, haunted experiences all throughout the state of Michigan, and there's very few places, if any, that can match that experience of Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac. And we are joined now by Ed Terabas, owner of Erebus, with us on the Megacast. Ed, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate having you back. So you got quite the history over there at Erebus. It is very well known here in southeastern Michigan, certainly in Oakland County, as a big attraction during the Halloween season. This year, what should people be expecting as they go to Erebus, especially seeing that things are a little bit more open up now and are significantly safer than they were a year ago, although still with precautions necessary. What can people expect when they go to Erebus during this Halloween season?
You know what? It's still, Erebus is still a half-mile walk inside the building. We did shut down a couple things that were, in contact with the people, or a big group of people we needed in one big room, so we eliminated that. But we still we added a couple new sections. We have a invasion of Area 51, and then we also have Miss Patty's meat pies. So you can actually see how we make the meat pies in the basement of Erebus, and then you can come upstairs and actually enjoy one. So we actually sell them at the concession stand also.
We're joined by Ed Terabas. He is the co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac, joining us on the Megacast. And Ed, there are so many different haunted attractions and experiences, whether it be haunted corn mazes or haunted houses that pop up, or haunted attractions such as Erebus in many places across the state of Michigan. What makes Erebus stand out from these other places and make it such a significant and impactful experience for people during the Halloween season?
Well, all the haunted attractions are cool. That's kind of like your graduation from trick-or-treating. The next step for Halloween is go to a haunted house or a haunted attraction somewhere. The reason we stick out a little bit is there's been so many haunted attractions in Southeast Michigan over the years. I mean, at one point, we had 100 attractions within 50 miles of us. And when we went to the trade show, we couldn't buy that really cool something because 25 other guys would have it. So when you come to Erebus, you're going to see a lot of unique things you don't see at other haunted houses because we created them here. We try to be unique. We're known as a very unique haunted house, different than other haunts.
We're joined by Ed Terabas, co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction, joining us on the Megacast. And Ed, as we continue on to dealing with COVID-19, there's still many precautions that are being taken by several different businesses and organizations all throughout the local area. It varies industry to industry, place to place. Given that this is a mostly indoor experience, where people will be gathering in groups or even just individually to go through this haunted attraction, what precautions should people be aware of that may be in place at Erebus this year as they go to the haunted attraction?
Well, we're not forcing people to wear a mask. We recommend it, but that's the customer's option on that one. And again, the close contact thing. We're actually when you're going through the haunted house, you're walking by my actors in 7 seconds. I mean, it's actually a quick process. We have people hired throughout the place wiping things down. We have sanitation stations. A lot of things that were in place last year are still in place with a few modifications. Last year, we had 0 breakouts, for the whole season.
We're joined by Ed Terabas, co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction, located in Pontiac. That is on 18 South Perry Street in Pontiac, Michigan. And Ed, is the attraction open? When is the attraction open to the public? What are your hours that people can pick and choose from to experience this haunted tradition here in southeastern Michigan?
We're open right now. We're open every day till Halloween, and then we're going to be also open November 5th and 6th, that Friday and Saturday. Weekday hours are 7:30 to 10:30, Friday and Saturday hours from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m., and Sunday hours are 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
We're joined by Ed Terabas, co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac, joining us on the Megacast. You're also associated with the upcoming Oddities Museum as well, and you mentioned a little bit of that earlier on. What is this museum, and how is Erebus connected to this other new attraction?
It's a separate entity altogether. It's called Mythos. It will be opening hopefully by the end of this year. Great oddities from dinosaur bones to mortician stuff to 450 vintage Halloween mask. It's a very cool thing. It'll probably be open year round. But it's located right downtown Pontiac, right next to Erebus. It's called Mythos.
We're joined by Ed Terabas. He is the co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information about Erebus by going to hauntedpontiac.com, where you can learn more about the haunted attraction, get tickets, find special offers, follow them on their social media, and more. Again, that is hauntedpontiac.com. And in addition to the haunted attraction, there's more that is going on at Erebus. You mentioned earlier some of the attractions that are throughout the building, but also want to talk to you about the Erebus Escape Room. Is that currently in operation now, and what can people expect when they participate in the escape room?
Erebus Escape is also open year-round. It's kind of like we took the escape room experience, and if you ever saw a movie Total Recall, where they implant memories in your head about going on vacation, and they said, but why just be you on vacation when you could be a secret agent? We're kind of taking that philosophy. Why just play an escape room when you could be a escape artist and get out of prison? You could be a top cop, solve the crime. You could be Indiana Jones and find the Temple of Doom. So that's our philosophy. So we actually have some highly themed rooms. They're very cool, very interactive. We call that Erebus fun without the fear. You're in there all by yourself. A couple of them are creepy, but nothing super scary.
We're joined by Ed Terabas. He is the co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction, located in Pontiac, joining us on the Megacast. It is currently open to the public. You can get your tickets on their website at hauntedpontiac.com. Just click on their get tickets option, and then you have options for Speed Pass, VIP tickets, group rates, and more. Again, you can learn that and find out all their schedules for October through Halloween. Again, at their website, hauntedpontiac.com. And so, Ed, as you're planning for this event every year, it's not the same thing every year, especially the haunted attraction. It's always something different. Coming into this year, knowing that there would be more people likely that would be coming out to the haunted attraction as things are opening back up following the thick of things in the pandemic, what sort of planning went into this year's event, and what was the focus as you were planning the haunted attraction for 2021?
We're always planning new things. We change approximately 20-25% of the show every year. We can't change all of it because, like I said, it's a half-mile walk through the building. We also were anticipating COVID things. Again, we eliminated a couple items that would actually, touch you and get in your face, and we didn't want people to. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And then we also have. How are you? Just regular stuff that.
We're having just a little bit of technical issues with Ed. Ed, it sounds like we have you back again. So please continue on.
Yes. Again, we eliminated some of the things that were in could be COVID sensitive, so we eliminated that kind of stuff. But we also came up with other things, new things. Again, the alien section, the meat pie section. Very cool. Response been great with it. So and again, we're always playing back and forth and keeping things safe, sane, in a fun environment. Haunted houses are just not scary, but they're also fun. I mean, as you go, if you can't be scared, you're going to have fun watching your friends be scared.
Absolutely. We are joined by Ed Terabas, the co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction in Pontiac. Again, that is located on 18 South Perry Street in Pontiac. Learn more information on hauntedpontiac.org. And Ed, what's exciting about this haunted attraction is it's not just a tradition. It's not just something that people look forward to and travel to from here in the state of Michigan. You actually have people that are looking forward to Erebus Haunted Attraction and are joining you from all across the state and across the country as well.
We've had people come internationally to come see what we do here. Again, we're very unique. We got things that you won't see other places. Unfortunately, Buried Alive's not working, but we got the swamp, the bottomless pit, spike spindle. I mean, all these other things that are very unique over here.
We're joined by Ed Terabas, co-owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction. They are currently open through Halloween for their regular season at the Haunted Attraction, a half-mile indoor walk through one of the world's largest haunted attractions. Ed, just another few minutes with you today before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that would be interesting for our audience to know about this year's haunted attraction or any other events going on or attractions going on at Erebus at this time?
You know what? I think you kind of covered all of it. You know, we have anything from insane clowns to the guys in the basement to, crazy truck drivers. We got, again, the butchers downstairs in the meat shop. We got the aliens. We got the victims of the aliens upstairs. We also have the escape rooms going on. We got a couple new ones in the escape rooms. It's a Harry Potter type room. And we also have one that's kind of like a fairy tale, which are great for families and kids.
Well, Ed, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us to tell us what people can expect when they go out to Erebus this Halloween season. And, of course, they can always learn more on your website. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and happy Halloween.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and then they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, alongside our studio producer and board operator, Calvin Brown, in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, where we broadcast live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on the Megacast. You can learn more information about all of the places that we broadcast here in Oakland County and all throughout the state of Michigan on community television and radio stations, as well as online by going to our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. There you'll also be able to find all of our full episodes and our individual interviews on demand, so you can watch the show on your time. We know you can't always join us for the full 2 hours, or only certain interviews are of interest to you, so pick and choose as you please on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. One of those I know that you'll be picking is our last interview today. We're pleased to be joined now by Cynthia Jones, the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, with us on the Megacast. Cynthia, thanks for being back with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. So coming up, you have a really interesting new exhibit going on, Collecting Mobility, New Objects, New Stories. This takes you behind the scenes at the operations there at the Henry Ford to give some insight on how you choose what goes into the museum, and then the process of obtaining those items and then putting them up for display in the museum itself. Tell us a little bit about Collecting Mobility.
Absolutely. So we just opened it this past weekend, and it'll be on display through January 2nd. We really approached Collecting Mobility because we've recently opened a new permanent exhibition, Driven to Win, which is all about racing, race cars, race car drivers, behind the scenes of racing. And we realized we had actually more acquisitions that we had brought in that we couldn't yet put on display there. So we had these amazing race cars. And then we asked ourselves the question, what else have we acquired in the realm of our mobility collection over about the last 10 years? And it's a wide range of artifacts. It's not all cars, because mobility for us is really thinking about how people move, what that does to our culture, all of the various elements related to it, whether it's accessibility technology or safety or new innovations. So there's a lot in this exhibition. I think there's a lot of interesting stories to explore. The other piece about this exhibition that I think is fascinating for our guests is that we've pulled back the curtain and we're telling you how we collect, why we collect, how an object ends up on display in the museum.
We're joined by Cynthia Jones, General Manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation. And what you pose in this exhibit is the question of what belongs in a museum. From your perspective individually and also collectively from the Henry Ford's perspective, what does belong in the museum? What factors go into the decision of whether or not this item versus this item is worthy of being displayed in one exhibit versus another, or generally displayed in the Henry Ford Museum?
So I think for us, it comes down to who are we and what are the stories that we can best tell, unlike other museums or other institutions out there in the world. And so for the Henry Ford Museum, we recently, a few years ago, we added of American Innovation to our title to help people understand, especially those that are traveling here from out of state or out of country who might not know about the Henry Ford, to know what it is we focus on. So we really focus in on that word American Innovation. So innovation for us are items that have changed how we live. So it's a little bit different than an invention. So an invention is a new idea that comes out. An innovation is when that idea gets adopted into our lives, something that we use that changes our daily experience. And so that's our initial lens. We're often looking at things that are firsts, things that have achieved new speeds or new heights or new innovation in materials. But more importantly than that to us is, how did it change life for Americans? So when you think about mobility, that can be things like self-driving vehicles. They're not widely out on the road yet, but we know they're coming. And so we've collected in that technology area.
We're joined by Cynthia Jones, General Manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, joining us on the Megacast. So for those that will be going to the museum to see Collecting Mobility, what's the draw there for them? Because these are items that ultimately, for some reason or another, were not necessarily previously displayed in the museum. And maybe it wasn't fitting for a show, maybe it wasn't the best potential item to show for one exhibit versus another. What makes these items interesting when they didn't make the cut from previous exhibits or other exhibits that are still ongoing?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. So, we have an amazingly large collection. We have over 26 million items in our collections. A lot of those are paper documents. But then we have huge 3D artifacts like vehicles, like testing benches where things get figured out. Everything in this show are things that we've collected within the last 10 years. And an institution like ours, it takes us a while sometimes to get things out on display. We have amazing permanent exhibitions. And so if you're going to add to a permanent exhibition, sometimes the floor space is kind of limited. So you have to ask yourself, what might go away to put this object in? But our collections serve more than just what is on display. It also serves as the permanent archive. So we're collecting items also that we think that researchers will want to look at 100 years from now. So documenting change in an industry. So in this exhibition, an example of that is we have an early aluminum body test vehicle. And that vehicle eventually was part of an aluminum intensive prototyping entire research process. That process, about 20 years later, ended up changing the biggest selling truck in America, the Ford F-150. So we have an early example. We'll also have later examples. So a lot of times what you'll get to see in this exhibition is us saying, we think this is important. We're making a bet on this being important. So it's kind of fun to come see what we're betting on. It's fun to talk to our staff that are in that space and tell us what you think, because a real meaning to an object happens not only from what the museum thinks is important, but also what a guest actually thinks is important, both today and 20 years from now.
So these items, Cynthia, they're coming out of the archives. They were collected for they were collected for other shows or other exhibits. They didn't make the cut. You've explained why they're out there now, what makes them interesting. But when you do get all these artifacts for one exhibit versus another, and you pick and choose which ones should be on display, which is the best to be displayed in order to tell the certain story of these innovations, what happens to those other artifacts when they are not chosen for that? And then ultimately, how are they then preserved or returned and then maybe come back for something like this?
Absolutely. So I think it's important to know that the bulk of any museum's collection is not on display. So the bulk of our collections are not on display. We have amazing climate-controlled storage units, massive climate-controlled storage units. So you can imagine storing, we've got about 170, close to 200 vehicles on display in the museum right now. We likely have a similar number currently in storage, either because they're there for very specific stories, they've been used on our television show, they're there as part of the permanent collection, they'll rotate in and out eventually. There's a lot of reasons why something is in storage. We think that on average for any museum, about 6% of their actual collection is on display at any given time.
We're joined by, please continue.
So I think it's interesting to know kind of also the why we collect different things. And this show gets into that. So some of what we collect is for actual use. So for those folks who've gone to Greenfield Village, you know that in many of our historic buildings, we use actual artifacts. So in Firestone Farm, we're cooking with historic artifacts. Similarly, mobility, we've recently collected some objects for use. So there's a parade car Lincoln limousine that has its own wonderful story. We also collected it because we use it. We will drive it around during car shows or special events.
We're joined by Cynthia Jones. She is the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, joining us today on the Megacast. Their Collecting Mobility New Objects, New Stories exhibit is ongoing, began on October 23rd and runs now through January 2nd of 2022, 9:30 a.m. until 5 p.m., their regular business hours. And other interesting displays currently at the American Innovation Museum there over at the Henry Ford is the Mishlug Lego building display. That's coming up soon. That's going to begin near the end of November and run through just after the beginning of the year. Tell us a little bit about what Lego fans can expect to see at that exhibit.
This is a wonderful one. So every year for the holidays season, we love to uplift the museum with especially child-friendly things, right? Because you know that you've got your grandkids visiting from out of town. You want a great place to take them. Maybe it's your time your family comes to the museum annually. So Mishslug, which is a fantastic volunteer organization of Lego builders, every year they create a city for us. So they build Lego replicas of major iconic buildings out of the city of Detroit. Oftentimes they'll also put fan favorites in there. So perhaps you'd find a Lego Spider-Man climbing up one of the iconic Detroit buildings. They also love to put some fantasy elements in. So last year we had Hogwarts Castle, Harry Potter. There's often railroads in this. There's lots and lots of things to see and do. And Mishslug builds that for us in the week leading up to Thanksgiving. We open it officially the day after Thanksgiving, runs all the way through January 2nd. And let me tell you, you can stand there at that Lego display and study it for ever and keep finding new little fun tidbits in there.
We're joined by Cynthia Jones. She is the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum for American Innovation, and she's joining us on the Megacast. The holidays are coming up. Some of these programs will run through the beginning of the holidays themselves, including the Lego display and collecting stories. Will also be running through that. Collecting mobility will also be running through the holidays and beyond into the beginning of the new year. But you have a lot of other specific holiday exhibits that will also be popping up throughout November and near the end of November as well, when this other Lego show pops up. Tell us a little bit about some of these different programs that will be popping up that will be of interest to people of different religious backgrounds, but also of general interest during the holiday season.
Sure, absolutely. So I think many folks think of us as a Christmas destination, right? We have a massive Christmas tree. It's iconic in the center of the museum. Folks love to pose in front of it. Regardless of whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it is absolutely really a beautiful piece to get a selfie or your family photo. But we are also very actively trying to be much more inclusive, open, welcoming to folks of all sorts of different faiths or folks who have different celebrations during this December season. And one of the questions we asked ourselves this year was, we're kind of in this second year of a pandemic. It's been a difficult time. What do we all need as we close out this year? And we said, we need a little light. We need a little joy. And so we looked around and thought about how those themes play out in different traditions, the ways that we celebrate with friends and family. So for me personally, I mark the solstice every year, the winter solstice, and kind of the return of light. We will also have Hanukkah displays up, thinking about lighting the candles. Also the foods and the traditions and what those things mean. We've been talking with the Charles H. Wright Museum, and we're bringing in a Kwanzaa display to think about where that overlaps with kind of light and family and tradition and recipes. So we're doing a much broader display. It's not large. It's a few pop-up cases to really help bring these stories to life in our space. We are also inviting local groups to participate with us. So for the solstice, for instance, we're having an astronomy club come in and talk about what is the science of this season? What is the science of light at this time of year? We're looking at an African drumming group to come in to close out Kwanzaa and the New Year with us. We've invited a group from a local synagogue if they would like to come in and talk about Hanukkah, because that happens to close on the first weekend of December this year. We've also invited some of our community partners out of Southwest Detroit. They celebrate oftentimes with luminaria, making luminaria. So what are the different ways that we bring these traditions to life across America?
We're joined by Cynthia Jones. She is the general manager of the Henry Ford Museum for American Innovation, joining us on the Megacast. And a lot of people go to the museum to see these interesting artifacts, and have some fun activities with family and friends, and especially during the holiday season when families are coming back into the local area in some cases and joining together in larger groups. that may bring up some questions of the COVID-19 pandemic going on, still going on, and precautions being taken everywhere. What's the situation over at the Henry Ford in terms of precautionary measures and requirements that are in place?
Absolutely, great question. I think as all of us think about going out and about, especially this season with not only COVID-19, but flu, other colds, things that are spreading, it's always good to ask those questions. You know, how do I prepare? What can I expect? For the Henry Ford, all of our staff working indoors, all of us are masked on while we were in any indoor space. The vast majority of our staff are also vaccinated. We are not a requirement of vaccination, but we do know that the vast majority are already vaccinated, and we think that is a smart step for everyone to be taking. For our guests, we will ask that you follow the latest best information. So right now, for indoor environments, we encourage you to mask on. Whether you're vaccinated or not, we know it's a great way to stop the spread of anything. So whether that's flu, whether that's COVID-19, we know it is a great way. We don't require it for our guests, but we do encourage it for any indoor space. We also encourage you to continue social distancing. So the group that you're traveling with, consider not getting super close with all sorts of other groups. And our museum is massive. We're a 9-acre space, so there's certainly lots of room to spread out. And then we also actively, for folks who may not yet be comfortable going indoors, it may not be the best choice for them, we have Greenfield Village, which is our outdoor living history experience. Holiday nights in Greenfield Village will happen on select nights throughout December. A lot of that experience happens outdoors. So if that's your preference right now, we're also trying to make sure we always give that option.
We're joined by Cynthia Jones, General Manager of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, joining us on the Megacast. And Cynthia, another couple minutes with you today before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that is coming up over at the Henry Ford Museum or in Greenfield Village? Programs over the next few months as we go into the holiday season and approach the end of the year that people should be on the lookout for, or anything else important for our audience to know at this time?
Sure, absolutely. So I think it's also great to know that so much more has been opening around our institution. We're, as is everyone, we're still building back. We're actively hiring staff. So if you're looking for part-time roles or full-time roles, we are also one of those organizations that's hiring. So please consider us. It's a great place to work. I've been there 21 years, so I can tell you I love it. But we continue to build back. So with holiday nights in Greenfield Village for this year, we're bringing back fan favorites like ice skating, like our Model T rides, like carriage rides. So a lot of things have started back up. Indoors in the museum, we've reopened more of our hands-on and touchable experiences. We're still absolutely deep cleaning on a constant basis, but things like getting on board the Allegheny locomotive and seeing what it would be like to be the engineer in that space. Our children's related programs like our PNC sponsored Tinkering for Tots, which is for those youngest ages, that is also actively back in now. So great story times, wonderful artifact explorations. So stay tuned. A lot of things keep coming back up. We're listening to folks about what they most want us to restart. So we're trying our best to make sure that all happens for you.
Well, Cynthia, we appreciate your time and appreciate you joining us. Telling us about some of these things that are coming up at the Henry Ford. Really interesting stuff over the next few months as we ring in the end of 2021 and begin 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it. We're going to take one quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show, and that's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
back to Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, thanking you for tuning in to another edition of our show today. We're live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, here on Civic Center TV and Lakes FM, as well as a number of other partnering community television and radio stations in Oakland County and all throughout the state of Michigan, online on civiccentertv.com and on My Michigan TV. Learn more about each of our partnering television, radio, and other stations by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. There you will also be able to get access to our full episodes on demand, both today and all the way back to March of 2020 when we began this show, as well as each individual interview. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the show. Dave Boucher, government and politics reporter at the Detroit Free Press. Jaimi Brook, the operations and events manager at the Birmingham Shopping District. Chris Barnett, Orion Township supervisor. Ed Terabas, owner of Erebus Haunted Attraction. And Cynthia Jones, the general manager at the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation. You can also learn more information about COVID-19. That's what this show was born out of, keeping you informed about the pandemic by going to our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you'll be able to get access to information directly from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the State of Michigan's Health and Human Services Department, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. Big thank you as well to our entire crew today. Calvin Brown, our studio producer, and our board operator, joining me each and every day here in our studios for our live shows from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Jared Clark, our Zoom producer, working out of our offices in Troy, as well as Larry Nyland, who is our booking producer and has also been helping with training some new staff joining our team on the crew as well. Big thank you to him for booking each and every one of our guests and getting them on the show. Again, you can learn more information about our show on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. I want to give a big thank you to Maddie Mushkin as well. She's going to hit one button in a few seconds here and get us off the air. Her show, The Splash, is coming up next on Civic Center TV and on My Michigan TV. It's Steve Leto Live. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care of yourself.